Buongiorno, folks, and welcome to a new Motorcast podcast. Did you like that, folks? The Italian tribute there. And this is the Italian Grand Prix, the Mugello Grand Prix from MotoGP. The review with myself and Benny, and what a race it was. An Italian rider, perhaps not the one that the fans wanted as much, but an Italian rider on an Italian bike won the race. And just before we start, we've got to pay tribute to Nicky Hayden, who sadly died and passed away after a cycling accident during training a few weeks ago, and a huge loss for the MotoGP community, Benny.
Yeah, definitely is a shame. He is a MotoGP legend, and he is one of the few people that were able to beat Rossi in Rossi's prime. He was like the first one in a few years to take the championship off him back in 2006. And he was and according to basically everybody in the paddock, he was a very nice guy, and it was a pleasure to watch him in the time that I was watching MotoGP. He was quite interesting a lot of the time, so yeah, it's a real shame we lost him.
Yeah, absolutely. He was, he was a really good rider, and as you say, someone who did beat Rossi. But I think, as Nicky would like us to do, we're going to carry on now with the review of the Italian Grand Prix. And Dovizioso, wow, his third win of his career, the first since the 16 Malaysian Grand Prix, and his first win, we had to actually research this, it was so long ago. It was the 2009 British Grand Prix, and I know I certainly wasn't watching then. Maybe you were, Benny, but I certainly wasn't. But Dovi was the star today, and Lorenzo faltered. And he's had two wins before, but a win at home, on the home bike. Just how much of an achievement is this for Dovizioso?
Well, probably I think it's every racer's dream, no matter the category, to win in front of his own fans. And it must be something really special for Dovi, and he's Italian, and he's riding a Ducati, so it's just like, it's everything coming together perfectly. It'd be like if Giovinazzi got a seat at Ferrari and he won the Italian Grand Prix. It's probably something similar, and basically Mugello is basically very similar to Monza in terms of atmosphere. The Italian fans just go crazy, and well, it wasn't after Dovi won, it wasn't quite very crazy, the reaction of the crowd, because I think everybody wanted Valentino to win. And it's especially even a better job from Dovi, because apparently he woke up today feeling quite ill, so it's even a bigger achievement today.
Yeah, apparently he got food poisoning, so a pretty good achievement considering that as a distraction. But the other Ducati team, the satellite team Pramac, not really a satellite team considering Petrucci's on the same bike really as the two main guys. Petrucci was the star. Redding not as good as on the older bike, but to be fair, Redding's still a decent result, still some points picked up. But Petrucci only qualifying 9th, but getting up to 3rd in the end. So does that kind of highlight the fact, Benny, that Mugello's a Ducati track? It's certainly not a Honda track, is it?
Well, yeah, I think it does. And just the Ducatis were very strong all weekend, except Lorenzo. But he just doesn't seem very comfortable on the bike yet, so he needs more time. But yeah, definitely it is a good track for Ducati, and it is their test track, basically. They do most of their testing here, so, just, what can I say, just very good. And even Pirro, who's their test rider, who got a wildcard entry, just doing a great job as well, so, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. A brilliant day for both Ducati teams. And moving on to Yamaha then, and I didn't think it takes a genius, to be fair, to notice the colour of the flares in the stands and who the fans wanted to win. He didn't win today, but he did well considering his injury, of course, that's Valentino Rossi. But a great day for his teammate as well. Maybe missed out on a win, could have said that he could have won. But to be fair, it looked like for the first time this season, Benny, that when Vinales got to the front, he didn't pull away. So that gives us some optimism. But would you say that with the huge gap, I know it's tricky to look forward just yet, but if Vinales doesn't fall off the bike, you have to pretty much say the championship's not done and dusted, but it's going to be tricky for somebody to catch up, isn't it?
Yeah, especially considering his consistency this season. But yeah, it was, from the start of the weekend, it looked like the whole field was very close, so it would have been a surprise if anybody were to just to go away and just to ride away from everybody, to just have an amazing rhythm. But just it looks like the Yamaha is a good bike. It performed decently in basically all races this year except in Jerez, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So just it's gonna be very tough unless more of those Jerez weekends happened for Yamaha, for basically anybody to catch up. Basically most of the field have to raise their game if they're to challenge Vinales for wins and to take the championship, to take the title fight to the final round.
Yeah, a really bad day though in contrast for Honda. I mean, Marquez lost more ground in the championship. Not great. He was actually held up behind Bautista, we'll talk about next. Fantastic day from him. But in the last lap, there was a bit of a weird incident in that Pedrosa actually crashed into Crutchlow, and it was a silly mistake, a rare mistake from Pedrosa. And what do you make of that incident? Obviously, it ended at Crutchlow's race, and he hasn't had a very good weekend. But what do you make of that from Pedrosa's point of view?
Well, from Pedrosa's point of view, I think from the replay, it just looked like Pedrosa wanted to gain a position on the final lap, and he just tried to force his way through, but he just took too much speed through the corner, and the front wheel just slipped, and just Crutchlow couldn't really have done anything. He was just an unlucky bystander at that point. But just this weekend for Honda, the only one who really was able to come close to the Yamahas and the Ducatis was Marquez, and I don't know if he was really held up. I think that Bautista actually helped his pace, as the Honda just didn't look quite as fast as the Yamaha or the Ducati. But it just is how the season looks to be. Just at some tracks Honda are doing way better, and at other tracks Yamaha are way better. Just one of those weekends.
Yeah, certainly bizarre to see from Honda. They've done pretty well so far this season. Not really had any bad weekends up to now. But as we just discussed, Alvaro Bautista, what a weekend from him. Qualifying in 8th, getting through to Q2, and finishing 5th. I mean, that's the best result of the year. He's not going to improve much better than that. So I suppose you just got to embrace it and enjoy this result for what it is.
Yeah, just looked like the Ducati was just a really good bike. Even the GP16 that Bautista's riding just looked to work really well around Mugello this weekend, and can't really say anything against it. So they just gotta do as well as they can, just to enjoy the good weekends and to just try to do well in the other weekends.
Yeah, it's not a great situation for either them or the Real team, because really they're going to be at the back unless they have a weekend like this. So, as I've just said, they really need to embrace these sort of results. But the Yamaha Tech 3 team, now in Le Mans, it was a fantastic race from Zarco in second. I think we might have even predicted him on the podium here. Not so much so today, but promising pace in practice, but not really much in the race. Still, solid points from Zarco, though, in 7th. I mean, he would have took that at the start of the season. But Folger's start, Benny, what happened on Folger's start? Because he seemed to go right to the back, didn't he?
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly what happened, but it just looked like in turn 1 he just, I think he outbraked himself or something and just went way wide, and I think due to that he ended up at the rear of the field. So just a good recovery from him after that. And considering Zarco, he did have some quite good pace, but it looked like the factory bikes and the Pramac and the Ducatis were just too good this weekend. And he did a good job. He still finished ahead of Lorenzo, who didn't really have the best of races, but just still the best rookie of the season, and by far the best rookie this weekend.
Yeah, agreed, absolutely right. I mean, you have got Sam Lowes at the back who's struggling. And you've obviously got you've got Zarco, who's just completely outshining the others. Obviously, Alex Rins is still out at the moment. We'll talk about Suzuki in a second, but certainly the rookie of the year. I don't think anybody can contest that just at the moment. But on to Suzuki then. We can only really talk about Iannone, because obviously Guintoli, okay, fair enough, he's raced today. but yeah, not brilliant. But then again, it's never going to be, is it? But obviously, if we go onto Suzuki then, Iannone was third in the warm-up, but he was knocked out in Q1, so it was clear he had decent race pace. But today he went from not being knocked out of Q1 to getting into 10th, so it equals his result from Le Mans in the last race. The question is really, Benny, you've got Suzuki who aren't doing really well this year. I mean, it highlights just how much Vinales was good on that bike last year, how bad it is this year. And I think certainly Vinales has got the best out of that move to Yamaha. Anyway, I think anyone could see that. But talking about Alex Rins, when he comes back, whether that'll be Catalonia or after that, I think it's Assen, isn't it, the race after Catalonia, not looking at my calendar. Can Rins compete when he comes back with Iannone? Because he was showing some decent progress when he first started, didn't he, as a rookie?
Yeah, I think he's still got quite a way to go, but I think he's going to be decent. He's going to be scoring points race by race, and he's going to be getting better. But the Suzuki this season it just doesn't look like the bike that they had last season, and they probably took a wrong direction in somewhere in the development of the bike, and it's going to be hard to redevelop the whole bike from this season to the next, and to redevelop it into a race-winning bike like it was last season. But they do have the potential. Back when they returned to MotoGP a few seasons ago, it was one of the best handling bikes, but from then on I just went downhill, really.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't look great for them this season. That's really the story of their season. But onto one of the Honda teams, Mark VDS. It's a real shame that Matty's not here, because his friend, Tito Rabat, got through to Q2. I mean, what the hell was that? That was fantastic. He also got his joint best result of the year, Miller also getting a point. And for the Mark VDS team, considering Honda were poor this weekend, obviously the kind of parent team, considering they were poor this weekend, you have to say it's pretty solid, isn't it, from the satellite bike? And what a performance from Rabat. Maybe not as good as Bautista, but a good performance nonetheless.
Well, yeah, as a team they did quite well considering Honda struggled this weekend, but the Q2 lap isn't quite as the way he got into Q2 isn't quite as it seems. He apparently, according to Slovenian commentators, he's basically stuck to the back of, I think, Marquez, and he just did a lap, an amazing lap following Marquez, basically the same pace as him, as that is quite possible to do in MotoGP, as the effect of dirty air is basically none, and especially if you have a bike in front of you that's the same, that your bike could do the same. It's just your ability, and you kind of push it above the edge at that point. But yeah, and even in the race he did quite well, even for the first time this season, properly outperforming Miller, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Completely agree there. On to Real, not brilliant for them this weekend, but 2 points for Barbara. Not really much to discuss from them, but I suppose you could say a decent day for Barbara. But it was alright for Real today, wasn't it? Obviously not as good as Aspar, but it's okay.
Well, yeah, it was okay, but just after last season, I think a lot of people were expecting more from Barbara. Last season he was riding the GP15 bike, and he was doing quite well across the whole season, and he even got after Iannone got injured and didn't race in a few races, he took over the factory Ducati bike. But yeah, just this season doesn't seem to like the GP16 bike, and he did a solid job, still getting 2 points, but just nothing really memorable for them.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely agreed on Real there, and onto Aprilia, the penultimate team. Really, when we get to this point of the video, really there's not really much to talk about. But Espargaro making a jump start, a rare mistake really in a good 2017 so far. And apparently, according to you said they'd had an engine upgrade, so definitely a chance missed. Yeah. But Lowe's not doing badly, but Espargaro really a rare mistake, and as you say, a chance missed today for them.
Yeah, it happens, he's just human, and I think he jumped that bike like just a bit, but you can't argue with the steward, If he moved too soon, he moved too soon, and yeah, but in practice and basically in practice, the new engine showed quite a good performance, but then it all went downhill. Espargaro crashing in Q2 with the bike that had the new engine, then he was forced to use the other bike that had the old engine, and now the jump start just a weekend that just went downhill for him. And Lowe's, I guess he showed a bit better performance, but still he's got a long way to go to improve himself and to get used to the bike to get the results that he wants.
Yeah, exactly. A real weekend to forget for them. But saying that, they've had a good season so far, so I think they can bounce back. And a team that have had a good season in the last few races anyway, but not so much today, are KTM. The other Espargaro was out. We presume it's a technical issue because it just came up that he was out and there wasn't really much to talk about in terms of that. Smith was at the back, so a step backwards necessarily, wasn't it? Because they've done quite well in the last few races, scoring some points. I think they haven't got through to Q2, didn't they, in Le Mans? Or was it the race before? It was one race where they both got through to Q2.
Yeah, it was Le Mans, but it was more due to variable conditions.
Yeah, definitely. But still, good progress. But a step back for KTM this weekend.
Yeah, it's where KTM are at the moment, at the back, But in the race pace, it did seem to improve. They are getting closer and closer, and the gaps are also getting smaller towards the top teams. But this is just the reality where the bike is at the moment, and probably the engine as well. I think, don't quote me on this, but I think their engine is the least powerful on the grid at the moment, with Ducati obviously being the most powerful, and Yamaha and Honda being somewhere similar. But yeah, it's the reality of where the bike is at the moment, and they've got a long way to go before they can regularly challenge for the points, and of course for podiums and wins, which is probably their target.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the review done for this race. Let's preview the next race very quickly before we go in Catalonia. And it's been a year at the next race since number 46, VR46 Valentino Rossi, has won a race. And in last year's race, it was Rossi, Marquez, Pedrosa on the podium. We also had a collision between Lorenzo and Iannone last year. And that was quite interesting, wasn't it? But probably Iannone won't be so high up this year to cause a collision, but less about Iannone's mad tactics last year, but more on Yamaha, Honda and all those up there. So it's not going to be a Ducati circuit, is it, Catalonia? It's just going to be a fight between Yamaha and Honda, I'd say. So who would you say is going to win that race, and what's your top three going to be?
It's probably not going to be a Ducati circuit, but after the French Grand Prix, they did some testing at Barcelona and along with Honda. And yeah, even for Jerez, it wasn't. Nobody predicted, I think, Lorenzo being as high up as he was, and he got a podium there. But I think it's another Yamaha track. So in my opinion, the Yamaha's obviously gonna do quite well. I think so. I think I'm gonna predict an all Yamaha podium with Vinales winning, thanks to pushing himself over the limit with his home crowd. With Rossi in second, and I think Zarco's gonna be on the podium again.
Can anyone spoil the party? That would be interesting in Catalonia to see if Rossi can spoil the party. As a Rossi fan myself, I'd like Rossi to do it, but I'd probably go along with you that it will be Vinales that wins. But I'm actually going to go Vinales, Marquez to split them, and Rossi in third. So we'll see who comes out on top in the predictions race. But so that's it for today's MotoGP podcast. Thank you very much, Benny, for coming on to providing your expert analysis, as always. But we'll see you again. I think it's another fortnight, isn't it? Till the
No, it's next week already.
Oh, that's brilliant. Fantastic. I've got all the motorsport next week. We've got the Canadian Grand Prix. We've got the Spanish Grand Prix MotoGP. We've also got the Berlin E-Prix and Formula E. So plenty of content to come on Motorcast in the next few weeks. So follow us all on Twitter if you want to see our expert analysis over on there. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure to do so. And we'll see you next week, in that case, for the Catalonian Grand Prix. Who will win, Vinales or Rossi? Let us know in the comments. Will it be Marquez, Pedrosa? Might even be Bautista. Or Rabat at home. What a result that'd be. We'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
Bye.